Welcome to the 7 Cents Podcast, where we go beyond dollars and cents to unlock the mindset beyond the money.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Macklin, aka Money Mike, the financial Thanos, because I'm snapping my fingers and I'm turning your financial problems to dust.
And I'm Coach RL, your money mindset coach. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in.
Guys, this is not your average financial podcast. We're breaking down money myths, mindset traps, and economic game plans.
We keep it real, raw, and relevant, from micro money moves to macro financial shifts.
This is a 7 Cents podcast where your mind meets your money.
Hey, welcome back to the 7 Cents Podcast. We have a special guest today, my homegirl, Yaz Franco. She is crazy, so that's why I brought her on here, because she is very passionate about the same things we're passionate about, and she likes to speak open and candidly about those same things. Of course, I have my co-host, Money Mike, the financial Thanos, and hey, y'all already know how I get down, man. It's time to cook. Hey, so I want to talk about the culture, the hustle culture, right? The culture of the 100-hour grinds and glorifying it and what that actually looks like. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. We're going to cook on this. So what I want to do is I'm going to pass to Yaz, and I just want your thoughts on this. And like when we brought it up, we started having a little small conversation about it. But what are your thoughts on what they call the hustle culture?
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me today. I am super shy when I get on podcasts. Let me just jump right in. So everybody loves to glorify entrepreneur, like the whole hustle concept. I don't necessarily know why, because 80 hours a week is not sexy to me. Most people like 80 hours a week and then still be broke. That's just not sexy to me. I feel like it's basically the same poverty mindset, but like with a Gucci belt on. You know what I'm saying? Just dress it up, put it in designer and glorify it. So that's really where I'm at with it. I don't think it's what everybody thinks it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, so a lot of times you'll see people actually glorifying it by actually putting it on social media and saying, and I've even heard some professionals say, hey, if you don't have enough, you should be doing more. With people working with more hours and putting it in, what does that actually look like for people that are actually doing it?
For me, I look at that kind of approach to work as poor time management. I'm as you all know, I'm a huge proponent of time management and money management. Those two go hand in hand. And if you can't manage one, you can't manage the other. And I feel like this whole hustle culture is basically the culmination of that. Is basically glorifying the fact that, people don't know how to manage time or money. So the answer to that is just to put in more hours. And we both know especially from a financial standpoint, more time is not the best way to make more money. That's actually the complete opposite of how people who really are getting to it really do it. Like, I use an example of two things that I've done, and me and Rob had this conversation before. I have been an Uber driver before, and I'm also a day trader currently. And, I look at the difference in money versus time on those two things, and it's absolutely ridiculous. On an Uber day, I'll put out about 8-10 hours and maybe pull in, $250. Now, conversely, I can day trade for 30 minutes and make $500-$600. So, the whole point of that is you have to understand what to get involved with to maximize your earning potential. And that's what the real problem is. Most people just feel like the more you work, the more money you make. And that it doesn't work that way. Not smart money. Dumb money. And if somebody get mad for me saying dumb money, look, y'all gonna have to be mad at me, but dumb money works really hard. Smart money works really smart. So that's my thoughts on the hustle culture right now, just to lay the foundation for it.
Yeah, and I would honestly say, man, I have been a victim of it. I would say right now that I still am a victim of it. I'm like halfway in between full grinding and actually figuring out what does this look like. Because at the end of the day, the solve of the issue is trauma. Like a lot of our culture says that this is what you're supposed to do. You listen to every song every day. I'm hustling. It got hustle in it. Like you're supposed to just be grinding all the time. So let me ask you this, Yaz. Do you feel like, and why do you feel like this hustle culture is rooted in like trauma and survival?
That's, oh my gosh, that's something that like I've been actually dealing with personally with like my family. As a Latina, I have been raised that hard work is what's gonna make you rich. Like work hard, work one job, two jobs. As a matter of fact, I had a family member that was bragging about his 21-year-old daughter who's in college. She's college full time and she has two full-time jobs. And he's like, yeah, she's such a hard worker. And I'm like, she's killing herself. Like, what? Like, how is that something to brag about? It's not ambition, it's survival. It's something that we just definitely I feel like we feel like because of idle time, you know, if we have too much time on our hands, like we're not necessarily working or we're not doing something productive. But I feel like people are confusing busy with productivity, and that's not the same. They're not. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're ambitious, just because you're willing to work really hard doesn't mean that you're going anywhere. You're running in place, my guy. Like, no, like that's not what we do. That's not going to get you out of that box. So yeah, so I just think that it's something that there's easier ways, and we have to make it okay to say it's so nice that you get to spend time with your family instead of thinking, oh man, you have a lot of time in your hands. You're so lazy. You know what I mean? It's just the shift in perspective. But yeah.
No, that's good. Mike, I asked you the same question. Like, why do you think the hustle culture is rooted in trauma and survival?
Really, I think it really boils down to more so of a scarcity mindset. People feel like there's just not enough out there for everybody. You know, again, the average mindset of someone in poverty is there's not enough money out there. And the average mindset of the wealthy is there's plenty of money out here. There's money like everywhere. And so that paradigm, you know, that the less fortunate have is about, you know, there's just not enough money. It puts them into this kind of a anxious, antsy mindset to where all they're thinking about is, I got to get to the bag. I got to get to the money. I got to do something. I got to get up off my hump and do something. And so that lack of understanding that there's plenty of money out there, it just creates that trauma, that survival mindset of where I just have to do something or I won't get money. And another concept that's rooted in is, you know, a lot of people equate time to money. You know what I'm saying? Like the more time that you put in, the more money that you produce. And again, it just doesn't work like that. You know, you have to really get around the right kind of information to really understand how money works, how life works, because, you know, the real way to get to money is who you become and the things that you do. It's not about, you know, just getting out there and working and working. And a lot of advice from wealthy people is hard work is not the way to get rich. Again, it's not about, and Yaz made a really good point about, you know, just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're being productive. I don't know where I saw it. It might have been another podcast. This was a long time ago too, where they talked about the word business. And, you know, for some people, the word business is busyness. They just doing a bunch of stuff, but nothing, you're not getting any real results. But shifting back to what you actually asked me, I think the overarching thing is the feeling of scarcity of money and that's what's creating that mindset of I have to, you know, get out here and put as much time in as possible so that they equate that time to, okay, in turn, I will make more money if I give up more time. So that to me is what kind of puts that mindset into people who are not in the know or who don't know better, that time does not, you know, always equal money.
And sorry.
No, you good. Cook.
And just the thought that like money has to come from hard work. I think when it's easy work, it's a scam. When it's easy work, I can't comprehend. It's like our brains can't compute. You know what I'm saying? Like their brains can't. What do you mean I can make a lot of money in an hour? What am I going to do with the other 7 hours of my day? You know what I'm saying? Like they just don't understand the whole like concept of it's okay to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. Enjoy the rest of your day. That's perfectly fine. That's how you build wealth. That's how you know, and I think they find themselves in if I'm resting equals lazy, like rest is equal to lazy. And then if I'm not busy, I'm not working hard, then the money that I'm making is not real money. It's like I don't know, like it's just one of those things that it's just like their brains kind of aren't wired. Like it's not wired. Like you're like, yeah, you have them having like many seizures when you tell them that you can make money in a short amount of time.
I will be honest. For me, I understand it too, that their brains are wired wrong. But a lot of that is public schooling. and just lack of knowledge of the transition into wealth. So what I want to say, and not to debunk anything that we're saying, is there are parts of entrepreneurship where you do have to work hard. And anything that you're doing, you have to work hard at a certain point. But there has to be an actual transition point from working hard to making the same amount in half the time, or triple or quadruple the amount in half the time. There's a transition to that. And part of that is learning how to build a team around you to do all of the
There you
shit
go.
that you don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, like, you get into your business to, I don't know, make t-shirts or print stickers. But now you're the fucking accountant, you're the janitor, you're the butler, you're the customer service person, you're the secretary. You need to start hiring people to do that shit, so you ain't got to. And then you buy back your time, and we talked
There you
about that
go.
a couple of times on here. You buy back your time, and now you're able to operate at a level to either, and again, we talk about the culture, and our culture is like, hey, if you're doing nothing, then you're stagnant. Cool. Now you have more time to do more productive things. You know, it doesn't have to be nothing. It should be hanging with the family and resting and self-care. But at the end of the day, if you are a grinder, now you have more time to do productive things instead of busy things, as Yaz was saying. So I'll ask y'all this after saying all of that, because I set up the kind of the next question is like, what is the difference between grinding and building? And then do you think people actually know the difference between the two? Because some people say, hey, my kids ain't gonna do nothing. I'm gonna work myself to death and then give them all of the money, and hopefully they have the same culture, as opposed to, hey, there's an actual way to build this, enjoy it with them, and teach them, and then pass it down.
I guess hustle is more so like trading. It's the whole trading concept. Like, you're trading your time for money. And I think the difference between hustling and building is when you teach, you actually have, I don't think that hustle has or grinding has culture. It's just work really hard until you can't work hard no more. And then hopefully you have something to show for it at the end. There's no taking a step back to look and see where you're at. There's no pinpointing. It's just work, which I definitely agree with you in the sense of you have to grind for a certain amount of time, and then that shift has to happen to where now you're not, now you're actually benefiting from what you've built, and now the machine is working on its own, and now it's coming in for maintenance because we're not building the machine. But when you're building the machine, yes, you have to put in that time. But again, it's understanding that you're building something and showing that to your kids. Okay, guys, I'm doing this. I'm not around as much because I'm building this, but when it's built, you guys are going to have to come in and do the maintenance, and showing them, okay, this is what the maintenance is going to look like. You need to, in my case, you guys need to get licensed because you guys can't inherit anything that I built unless you guys have your license. So you guys need to have your, your securities and all of that stuff so that you guys can inherit that stuff. But it's, again, it's a very thin line, but the line is there as far as like switching.
Probably should stop cutting my mic off because I'm over here playing the flute. But what'd you think, Mike?
Realistically, I feel like the whole hustle thing, it's a phase in the overall process. Like, the hustle part is the beginning. Like, at the beginning, when it's just you, yes, you have to, you know what I'm saying? Because what you're doing at the beginning is you're casting the vision into the world. And that's you at the beginning, because at the beginning, it's just your idea. For instance, the Green Order, at the beginning, it was my idea. You know what I'm saying? So what I have to do at the beginning is, put things together to lay the foundation. Once you have done that, though, you have to transition out of that. You have to go into the next phase of that. And you have to, it's almost like we talked about the whole manifested thing. It starts in your mind. It starts with you, but then you got to bring it out into the world and say, okay, hey, listen, Money Mike is here. The Green Order is here. And you start pulling people into your movement to say, hey, listen, you know how to do this really well. So in order for the bigger vision to get out there, hey, I need you to do this portion. And, I need you to do this portion. You start adding people to your vision so that it can effectively grow like it needs to. Just hustling is not going to allow your vision to grow, because, again, it's just, you're only one person. One person can only communicate to so many people before you run out of people to talk to, or, whatever. But once you start to grow that vision and turn it from hustling to, building or making it a more productive product, you have to involve more people in that. And the time element of that is, now, once you start involving more people in it, you're able now to, get in there and do the analysis necessary to make sure that what you are doing is effective, and you can grow that. So That's how businesses actually grow. The initial visionary brings in people, communicates, the vision. And that's the real job of the entrepreneur, is to put his vision out there, his or her vision out there. It's not his or her job to do all the work. And that's the problem. People feel like if you do all the work, then you're like this champion of, it's like an ego thing, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're fulfilling this ego. Oh, I can do everything. And people that know better know, listen, there's things I can't do, or, there's somebody out there that can do it better. So why not let them do that portion? You know what I'm saying? So I can stick to what I'm good at. For instance, me, I'm good at explaining financial concepts. Am I good at bragging on myself, or am I good at, putting all that stuff out there about how to do? No, not really. So I get help. I'm like, hey, listen, tell people about what I'm doing. And then once I get you in front of me, I can focus on my part. Okay, hey, look, I know money like the back of my hand. And okay, I can break it down for you. But that's what it really boils down to. The hustling, you got to understand, is it's just a phase. It's the beginning portion. It's what you do at the beginning. After that is just analysis and management. You know what I'm saying? And that's what individuals need to learn, is that you have to play this game in phases. It's not just the whole time you just grinding. And I don't like using the word grind anyway, because anything that grinds eventually is going to wear out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to grind. I'm going to get out here and do a little bit of work. And Yaz did a really great job of talking about that. It's about the maintenance. After the hustle, then it's just, now it's the maintenance, the little things that you need to do to make sure the machine keeps going. So, we got to get out of that mindset of just, busting our hump, until we have nothing left. Because if you have nothing left, then what can you really give?
100%. That's why I went and got that water. So this is like one of those things where I got to bite my tongue for 10 seconds because Mike will say something that'll strike a nerve. And I was like, if I don't move on myself, I'm going to be here for 20 minutes. So I'm just going to leave it alone because, we on a time schedule today. 100%, like 100% that something that grinds is eventually going to break. And a lot of people understand that, but they don't actually focus their progress to do that. And it's so weird to me that people have this level of consistency built in and wired into them that they can't see the future. It's crazy. Like I always say, so you telling me when you're 55 that you're going to have the same energy to do what you're doing now? I highly doubt it, regardless of what it is. But I'm going to transition off of that point. Where I'll be cooking on this for the next 20 minutes.
I was like you and Yaz was ready to cook on that one.
Bruh. My God, you made me itch. Listen.
Oh my goodness.
Now you see what be happening on the show. This is what be happening for real.
That was good.
I'll write that shit down.
I got 3 notepads over here. So why does the same culture, right? You have this hustle culture, but they don't take in consideration. Okay, let me take a step back. All right. So over the last probably 10, 20 years, we've learned that mental health has been a huge problem in our society. One of those things that's causing this is, right? Burnout is a real thing. But we still, even knowing this, have shame within that culture to create time for rest and sabbatical. So why is there such a shame on rest? And then how do we overcome that? And I'll pass it to Mike this time.
All right, cool. I knew you was going to do that too. And that's cool. So yeah, I feel like I touched on it a little bit in the last question, and I'll expound a little bit more onto it. I think what it really boils down to is ego. A lot of people are afraid to admit a lot of things. And in a lot of ways, I mean, we're all, former military, and we probably can remember this, where if you went to sick call, or if you went to mental health, you were looked at as weak, or it was frowned upon. Like, they looked at you some kind of way. If you like, man, I'm burnt out a little bit, I need a rest, they looked at you some kind of way. And I think a lot of people in life have that same kind of mindset, is they don't want people to see them vulnerable. They don't want people to see that, hey, listen, I'm just a person. It's only so much that I can do. It's almost like they put a delusion into their mind. Oh, I can do everything. And Rob touched on it a minute ago. They like, okay, at 55, you think you could still do what you did at 45, 35, 25. And the reality is you cannot. Again, like I talked about in the last question, life, much like, a business, it's phases to it. You know, you get into phases of life just like you do phases of business, and your energy level is going to go down. You have to accept the realities of, okay, one, energy is a finite resource in an individual. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much you have. And a really good book that I read was a book called The One Thing. I think one of the authors is Gary Keller, but the book is talking about, you know, realistically, you only have a limited amount of energy. And so when you're out there deciding, okay, where are you going to focus your attentions? You really need to start understanding energy management. Okay, hey, look, I only have so much energy. So what I should be doing is putting that towards the most important things. Do that first. And then, you know, give yourself time to rest and rejuvenate. And, you know, I can go into the scientific parts of, you know, the value of rest. I can go into the mental health values of rest and everything like that. But, you know, just answering the question, I feel like it really boils down to ego. People just refuse to admit that, you know, they only have a limited capacity and a limited amount of energy. And what you should be doing is embracing that, saying, hey, look, I only got so much energy. So look, I'm going to prioritize what I'm going to put my energy towards. And then, you know what I'm saying? Hey, look, once that portion runs out, let's move on to something else. And again, a lot of that, even in finance, the same thing. It boils down to ego. People don't want to admit they have a problem. And I think the same thing happens in the hustle culture. People are not wanting to admit that they have an actual problem. And so they just do what they call the definition of insanity. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. And if we're going to do any better with anything in life, you got to let go of that ego. You got to be vulnerable, and you got to just admit, hey, listen, I need some help. And once you get that help, I'm telling you, your productivity, your life, everything is going to drastically improve.
Hey, that was fire. I promise you, let me cook. It's not going to take long.
Well, let's go. It's Rob's turn, y'all. It's Rob's turn.
So hear me out, right? Hear me out. This is where I'm at with this. I believe that when people haven't set boundaries and rest for themselves, it's because of two things. A, they don't have a goal or a big goal. And B, if they have a goal, they didn't have a plan. Because if you had a plan, you would know that you cannot grind this all the way out. Like, it's impossible to grind anything all the way out without rest, without running into obstacles. These are what your plan allows you to do, because at the end of the day, even let's say you in the grind culture, and let's say you work at a plant and you like, hey, I'm about to work these 16 hours, and your plan is to save up to buy a new house. All right. So you got this plan and you working these 16 hours, but then you break your leg. Now what? What? Now there's an obstacle in your plan. Now you back the 176 hours that you lost in your leg. So now you're going to go harder. And it's just because you didn't have a plan. And I think on top of not having a plan, your goal just wasn't big enough. But I'll save that for another episode. Yaz, what you think about why people shame rest?
Okay, so y'all know, okay, y'all don't know, but I'm a nerd, okay, and I've been in my whole like quantum epigenetics, you know what I'm saying, phase
Yeah.
right now.
Going.
And I think that a lot of it, unfortunately, that's just the history of our people, you know what I'm saying? Rest and not working hard, that anything, mental health, any issues you had could have gotten you killed, could have gotten you, like, you were disposable at that point, right? You were replaceable. And I think that a lot of us grow up still learning, like, you got to be the best. You got to work as twice to get half as much. You got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're just drained. And I think that just comes from like our genes. We're genetically programmed to be and feel that way. So when we are feeling burnt out, we're almost like, oh my gosh, I'm weak. I can't. Oh my, I'm disposable. I can get replaced. And so we have to find it from somewhere else. I think that a lot of it has to be, we have to just reprogram. That's not our current situation anymore. And we're not completely far removed from that, but we're definitely not in that same position where, like, you know, God forbid you're injured and you're no longer worth anything. Now you're disposable. Now you'd be thrown away. Now you'd be killed. And so I think that a lot of that fear that we feel isn't even ours. Like the shame of the rest, the mental health, a lot of it isn't even us. It's like DNA. It's like something that was passed down to us from before. And so then it's just a matter of reprogramming, right? Like we have to normalize, like slow money is okay, right? Like rest is necessary. for you to be the best you could, all of those things. But to answer your question, I just think that it's in our genes to be, to be afraid of being not good enough, not chosen, not picked, And so we try really hard to not be that.
Yeah, you hit a nerve.
Sorry.
No, you did good. I would again, I won't go crazy on what you said, but you're absolutely correct. There's actually scientific proof that shows that the trauma that's happened in previous generations is actually inherited through DNA to the next generation, right? And when you talk about Black and brown people and our history and being marginalized, the trauma that went through that is actually passed directly in the DNA for I don't know how many generations. I'll probably put it down in the description of article that'll show you the scientific study, but you're absolutely correct. That is scientifically proven that trauma is passed down. So yeah, let's do this. We talked about it, and you know me, I like being a problem solver. So Yaz, I'm going to pass it back to you. What are some of the things people can do to change their mind about not even participating in this grind culture, but how would you advise them to structure their life and their goals?
First things first is to acknowledge that it's okay to just be you. Okay, I've inherited. If you are open-minded enough to understand, okay, this is the trauma from past generations, I've acknowledged that is somewhat the issue. And then from there, moving forward into the reprogramming, into the study of who you want to be, right? If you want because it's always been like us and them. Like for us, like growing up was like, oh, that's their thing. We don't operate like that. We don't move like that. And my question was always why? Why can't I, why? And it's, because, we're Latinos. We don't move like that. That's not our thing. That's not for us. And I was always like, why is that not for us? I want that life way more. Like, what you mean? And so it's understanding that, like, unfortunately, we got what we got. It is what it is. Acknowledging that and then saying, okay, let's make the change. Money has to be hard to make, right? You have to it comes to you easily. You can find it in the flow, like kind of just understand that and finding other ways of making money passively. That's super important. And then, of course you want to prioritize yourself, your health, having those boundaries. And what I teach my team is always like I don't know if you guys remember when we were in the army, it'd be like the total soldier concept. And like we had to teach the MRT stuff. I did the same thing with my team where it's like the total person concept, where like your self-development, how are we depositing into that? Our financial situation, how are we depositing into that? Whether it's business, whatever, family, relationship, and fitness, and then of course nutrition, and just how are we reprogramming, depositing into each one of those every day so that we're moving in the right direction completely, and that we're changing the DNA for the future generations.
That was fire.
Right. We had to let that breathe a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was nice. Yeah, there we go.
That was good. That just reminds me like how this ain't got shit to do with shit, but this reminds me of how important it is to retain that information as a soldier, because a lot of it is relatable in business. It's relatable in personal relationships. It's relatable in training, and still relatable in being a leader. I just found that you were able to cross those wires and take something that you learned in the military and keep trucking. Cause I have tons of things that everybody, that's great. I was like, nah, that was reused. I had to learn that when I was PFC. And I just thought it was cool. So I just put a spin on it, but I love that about the total person concept. I found that to be fire. Mike, I'll alley-oop it to you, brother.
Okay. Part of what I'm going to say is probably going to piggyback off of what Yaz just said. But the main thing that I would say is the start to improvement in this is you have to look at successful people and you have to look at that blueprint. Like, okay, most successful people don't work their ass off like this. They don't, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm gonna say this. I feel like a lot of that mindset that a lot of us go through is something that was pushed, at the beginning, generations back, it was pushed that, okay, hey, your only worth is how much you work. Okay. And we were told a bunch of misinformation essentially at the beginning. And we were, our lives progressed in that kind of way. Like we were basically moving under misinformation. I think we talked about this in one of the other episodes, but equate this to when your parents used to tell you, do what I say, not what I do. And I feel like that was the message that was passed to us. And a lot of what was said to us was to, work really hard, go to college, save your money, You know, all these basically backwards concepts was basically taught to us. And what we have to do now is, instead of what they say, okay, no, let's do what they do. Okay, people who are successful, the first thing that they do is go get some help. The second thing they do is look to involve themselves as little as possible into that project so that they can focus on other things. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing is, I teach this in the green order. It's about allocation. When I talk about money, how you allocate it. The same goes with your energy. You have to allocate it different ways. Part of your energy goes into the business. Part of your energy goes into self-development. Part of your energy goes into, you know, the accounting, parts of it. But eventually, again, you have to start to delegate those parts. Okay, hey, listen, you're really good with numbers. I want you to start dealing with the accounting. You're really good with social media or something. I want you to start doing that. So you start sending those allocations out to where now you have more to put out there. You actually can now productively put out, you know, the energy. And I said it at the beginning of the episode. It's all about energy management and time management. Once you start to learn to move in that kind of way, then the success is going to come. One of my favorite quotes, you know, kind of ties into that. And it's, you know, making money is not about what you do. Making money is about who you have to become. Because once you become the type of person that you need to be, and that person is who you decide. And that's, and, you know, I like that Yaz said that, you know, you have to decide first and foremost who you want to be. And then you work towards becoming that person. And the success and the money and all that stuff is going to come with that. But it starts with you working on you, being selfish, taking care of yourself first, and getting rid of all those narratives. Become who you need to become. And I'm telling you this, success will be right behind you.
Y'all are cooking. And y'all like, all right, Rob, what do you have to say?
What they said.
What they said. This is, first of all, this has been an outstanding episode. Definitely, truly appreciate Yaz for jumping on. Truly appreciate your thoughts, Mike. My final thought on this is probably echoing what you both said is, first, you have to really understand who you are and what it is that you want to be. When you establish who you are, which is very hard, because again, and I say it's hard, it's not impossible, because I'm 40 years old and I'm still finding out who I am. I am who I thought I was. And if somebody told me, nah, it was bigger than that. And, you know, now I got to catch up. But just discovering who you are. And once you discover who you are, and then you can create what it is that you want to do based off of who you are. Like what Mike said, is part of knowing who you are is understanding and deciding what you want to put your time into. And the last thing you probably want to do is put your time into somebody else's dreams and thoughts and processes. And that's what people are doing when they work for a business that's not theirs. They're putting their time and they're putting their time and energy into somebody else's dreams. So when you are ready to dream, then you outline a plan to get to that dream. And then, as Mike said, you're going to start off with the hustle and you're going to transition into building. And when you're building, once that machine is built, like Yazzie said, then you just maintain that machine and enjoy your life. And then I'll leave you with this note. I did read an article, and I'll try to drop that article in here, that Oprah actually only works 2 to 3 hours a day, right? So if she's only working 2 to 3 hours a day and she's a billionaire, what does that say about your 16-hour day? You're busy, you're not productive, right? So with that being said, hey, thanks everybody. Special thanks to, I ain't called her Yazzie on here until just now, so I practice discipline, and I truly appreciate you for coming on and joining us. I think this is just the perfect platform to share your wealth of information. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Definitely our pleasure. And Mike, as always, man, we're going to cook up another one very soon. Truly appreciate you jumping on with me and sharing this platform so we can help people change their mind, change their money, and change their life, right?
I'm here for y'all, man. You know, so I'm here for the people. Let's go.
All right. And so until the next episode, we will catch y'all later. Mike, we need a tagline, so we're going to figure that out later so we can just end with the tagline. But the tagline come on here, but I probably switch it up every week if you leave it up to me. I don't like notes.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
All right.
Like I said.
Here we out. You just tapped into the 7th Sense, where the mind meets the money and the legacy gets built.
It's your boy Money Mike, the financial Thanos, snapping one myth at a time and leaving no financial lies standing.
And I'm Coach RL, mind right, money right, legacy locked in. If today's episode gave you game, make sure you rate, review, and share it with someone.
Hey, follow us on all platforms and keep the conversation going, guys. DM us your questions, your myths, and your money wins.
Until next time, think deeper, move smarter, and keep building.
This is the 7 Cents Podcast. We out.